Hello and welcome to Season 3 of the Mainly Eminem podcast in association with ePro. A couple of weeks since we've last been on, but delighted that we are back for a new season. And as ever, I'm joined with my guests for this evening. I have Ross and Blake. Guys, how are you? Okay?
Not bad, thank you, mate. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. Just a couple of weeks off. Obviously, not a lot of stuff from sort of Eminem side has came through, but you know, there is a few things that we'll probably talk over the next couple of weeks in this new season. But today's episode, ladies and gentlemen, we are celebrating 20 years of Encore. You heard that right, 20 years, which is pretty scary. This album was released on the 12th of November 2004. On the Shady Aftermath label, and 6 producers in this album. Quite a small sort of production list compared to previous Eminem albums. The 6 producers on this project, we have Eminem, of course, Dr. Dre, Louis Resto, Mike Elizondo and Mark Batson. In terms of the features, quite a similar vibe as well. It's quite a small feature list. It's only featuring 6 artists. We have 50 Cent, Obi Trice, D12, Dr. Dre, Nate Dogg and Stat Quo. Now, of course, for those that remember the album from back in the day, there was quite a few singles from it. It started with Just Lose It, then of course we had Like Toy Soldiers, Mockingbird, Ass Like That, and finally Encore. So what we're going to do, just to sort of honour the album as a whole, we each have got our own sort of 3 special tracks that we'd like to sort of mention, and of course as usual we'll scan through the track list as well. So not much to say on the first track, of course. It's just the opener, Curtains Up it's titled, and after that we'll dive into track number 2, so Evil Deeds, which I'll be honest, it's one of my favourite sort of intro tracks to an Eminem album. This track is produced by Dr. Dre. Content-wise, the song touches on many themes, including M's upbringing, childhood bullying, media perception, struggles with fame, his relationship with his father, and balancing his personal life with being obviously an artist as well. So he's performed this quite a few times, especially when it first came out back in 2004. He did do Madison Square Garden and Detroit as well, and it did, for those tours, it was the opening track to the set list. Over 20 times he's performed it, most recently in 2018. I don't think he's done it recently. I don't know if you guys maybe checked the sort of last gig that he'd done in Austin, but I don't think that he'd performed the track. But it's definitely one that he has performed at quite a lot of times over the years. I was fortunate to see him open that at Glasgow back in 2013 as well. Guys, what do you make of this track yourselves? In terms of an opener, what's your perception of it?
Yeah, it's different, really. I think is the main thing. I like the production, like the sort of is it like the violent sort of violin sort of noise you hear in the background as well? Yeah, it sounds quite nice. This one had, like, I think when I was younger I played it a lot more, but as I sort of got older and started like sort of understanding like the lyrics a bit more, it just kind of dropped off a little bit for me. But yeah, still, it's not one of his strongest openings to an album, but yeah, it's still pretty good.
Yeah, Blake, what about yourself?
I'm in the same boat, to be fair. I mean, as an opening track, obviously compared to newer, like more so the newer and even a couple of older albums, it doesn't rank as high. But I love Encore as an album anyway. So this track for me is one of my favourites. So whenever I do pick songs off Encore to be part of a playlist, I do usually put that one in. So I really like it. It's just like Ross said, over time maybe it doesn't get played as much as it maybe either used to, or you know, just because of the quality we've had since, and maybe it doesn't rank as high. But in terms of a song as its own, I do think it holds itself quite well.
Yeah, I was quite in the sort of slight opposite to Ross. When it first came out, I was obviously quite young. I do remember going through the album and wasn't particularly a fan of it at that moment in time. But I think because he performed it in Glasgow those years ago, I went back and obviously revisited it, and ever since then I've went, you know what, it's it's definitely grown on me over the last few years as well, which I like. But yeah, not a bad start to the album. Number 3, Ross is going to go through the next track.
Yeah, so this is obviously Never Enough, which features Nate Dogg and 50 Cent, and also was produced by Mike Elizondo and Dr. Dre. This one's obviously I mean, with regards to sort of Eminem's verse anyway, a few obvious jabs at his sort of feuds at the time, which were Murder Inc. and Benzino as well. I think this is what he sort of, although he doesn't really mention anyone by name in this song in particular, I think that's kind of who he's talking about. The only thing I do find strange about this song, though, is I think it might be one of Eminem's like only songs where he just, as soon as you press play, it starts. Like he jumps straight into it. There's no build up. Obviously, it plays from the previous track. So, and he obviously sticks with the same sort of rhyme scheme throughout his entire verse. Obviously, rhyming like there's not much you could do or say to phase me. He rhymes that phase me for all the way until the end of his verse. Where he goes on to say place to see and face me again. So, and obviously, it's got a Nate Dogg hook. Obviously, I don't think Nate Dogg's got a bad song, in my personal opinion. No. So, yeah, the man was the king of hooks and sort of melodies for an obvious reason. But then 50 Cent's verse comes on as well. I actually think Eminem's lyrics were better, but 50 Cent's flow was better. It's still a little bit. It's just a little bit too short. I really wish he went on for a little bit longer. But the flow is crazy. My music is a drug. Press play. You ain't got to sniff it, shoot it or pop it, roll it, bag it or chop it. I'm too young to be hearing what that is actually what he's doing there. But at the time, I even think I kind of went, Jesus Christ, that's a tongue twister and a half. And he's not really an artist I would put up there as sort of like a lyricist, if you know what I mean. 50 Cent. He makes bangers, but I don't know if I'd put him up there as like a lyricist. And this sort of argues the point that he is. So, yeah, probably one of my favourites. And like I said, it just sort of jumps straight into it, so there's no messing about. The beat's crazy as well. I don't know, it just speaks like volumes about what hip hop was like back then. That sort of fading in and out of the bass as well. Yeah, it just sounds really good.
Yeah, I think this was the first time 50 Cent was on an M album, because he'd obviously just been signed potentially maybe a year or two before that. Obviously, M was on Get Rich or Die Trying, but I think that is the first time that, you know, we get to hear him on an M album.
Yeah, it's like a sort of mainstream Eminem album. Yeah. Obviously, he then goes on to appear on the Re-Up, I think, as well.
That's right.
But yeah, obviously, this is actually just an Eminem feature straight away, and it's, you know, 50 Cent's on this album a couple times now. So yeah, I don't think there's a bad feature on this album, and this is a good way to start it as well. So yeah, probably it's in my top 3, 100%.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. So yeah, track 4, we go on to, of course, Yellow Brick Road. That was produced by Eminem and Louis Resto. You're probably going to get this sort of vibe throughout this album. The majority of the tracks are produced by Eminem and Resto, and if not, Dr. Dre's included in them as well. So it's quite a sort of close-knit production from, you know, this sort of Aftermath Interscope label. So yeah, Yellow Brick Road. This song was a response to a controversial old tape that was titled Foolish Pride, that was leaked by The Source magazine around about 2003. So many of you would probably know by now that, you know, Benzino, Eminem, The Source magazine, there was a whole load of stuff going on back in these times, and for however they managed to get, you know, the tape of, you know, Eminem making slurs. It was basically about a breakup from a black girlfriend, and yeah, obviously the song was never officially released. It was, you know, back in '95 after, you know, the two of them broke up. So yeah, this track is, you know, basically apology for that. You know, he shouldn't have said it, wasn't, you know, in the right way to say it. But it is quite a good track. You know, it is one of his storytelling songs as well, and, you know, there's good flows on it. Chorus is quite good. So all round, you know, I do like this track. I think Elton John had a song called Goodbye Yellow Brick Road, so it's sort of shout out to Elton as well, just for the track title. Well, what did you guys make of this? I take it you would have probably been too young to have heard it when it first came out, but having known what the sort of issues were regarding the Foolish Pride tape and then this track, what did you make of it?
I was actually not fortunate enough, because obviously the song, what he said, obviously, like he says, he shouldn't have said it, but I actually listened to Foolish Pride before I even ever listened to this song. And the only thing I don't like about this song, I think, like you said, it's a very good storytelling track, and it's a good way to publicly and openly and not be ashamed of, like, well, he was ashamed of what he said in the track, but he wasn't ashamed of what happened. Obviously, he's admitting it, he's owning his stuff, and he's apologising. The only thing I don't like about this track is literally how the track starts. You know, that little noise at the start.
Yeah.
That's
Nah,
literally
nah, nah.
Yeah, that's literally the only thing I don't like about the song. But I like the hook. I don't know. It's just like a very straightforward, not over the top, just a nice track. Basically getting some stuff off his chest. So all in all, I like it. It's literally, if I'm nitpicking, it's just literally the start of the song I don't like.
Yeah, Ross, in the track, M describes him and Proof sort of being out in Detroit, but M having a sort of chain, a rapper's chain. Someone snatched it off him, saying you ain't supposed to have that. You ain't even half black. So like there was obviously, it was being mocked, by his sort of appearance of being white, but obviously into to black culture.
Yeah, I don't know. It was a weird one as well, because I mean, if you look at how sort of rappers dressed back then, everyone sort of wore the same thing. So what's he expected to do? Just not dress like that? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. Just the hip hop in the 2000s was very much like the fashion was crazy, the music, the videos were weird as well. I just think this guy Eminem is probably he is the highest selling artist in rap music. I mean, it just seems a bit weird that someone would feel they have the cheek to walk up to him and say to him, yeah, you don't deserve that. So it's like, well, he quite clearly does. Like, he's obviously made it global the way it has been. So, yeah, I don't know. But the interesting thing for this song for me is that this is just, and I've tried really hard. This is one of those songs I just cannot get into. I just always skip it about 30, 40 seconds in. I just can't get past it. I don't know why. I want to like it. I kind of feel the same way about oh shit, what's the one off of the Eminem show? Square Dance. It's the same as that for me. I just I get that it has its appeal, and to some people it's really enjoyable. But for me, I just can't listen to it, so I have to skip it. Which I think is probably the only letdown. It's just like Blake said, like that beginning, that weird noise that comes in. I just don't know what it is. That's not capturing me and making me want to listen to it.
Understandable, but yeah, so that was track number 4. Blake is going to go through the 5th track of the album.
Yeah, so obviously Light Toy Soldiers. Obviously, I'm not gonna dive into too much detail, because obviously everyone's gonna know this track. It's easily the biggest track off the album. But obviously, to quick summarize, it's basically saying he's done with all the bullshit, like obviously most of the beefs he was having at the time, with Benzino and
Ja Rule.
Yeah, that's the one.
Obviously it's more so Ja Rule he was finishing it with, but obviously I'm sure there is a little reference to Benzino in here as well.
Yeah, he talks about the receptionist at the source, doesn't he?
Yeah,
goes on about some of it there.
Yeah, so obviously, to be fair, the most interesting thing, and obviously I don't want to really be that person who dives into, these sorts of comments, but it's scary how the music video actually played into real life.
I was going to say this.
That is bizarre.
Maybe feel a bit uncomfortable when I watch it now.
I mean, out of all the members in D12 to be in that predicament, obviously I know it was the most what's name, because obviously it's the person closest to Eminem, but for how close that music video is to real life events is pretty scary. But in fairness to him, like obviously with this track, he completely refused to get involved again. Obviously I know recent times he's made his jabs and crack jokes, this, that and the other, but while 50 Cent was doing his thing with Ja Rule, like Eminem stayed away from it, because like he says in the song, it's going to start leading to body bags. Do you know what I mean? Like, and considering what it started from, don't get me wrong, Ja Rule was completely in the wrong, and going at anyone's children in any sort of manner, no matter how you think of the person, is never the correct way to go about things. But the way the whole beef escalated, it definitely would have ended in body bags. So, and I can't remember who the artist was they sampled the song from, but the sample is Toy Soldiers.
That's right, yeah.
Was it a song back in the 80s or something? It
Yeah,
was
I think it
around the
was.
80s,
It was a
90s.
female singer from the 80s. The name skips me just now, but I think it was quite a big hit back in the day. I think it was pretty successful in the US and the UK, so I think it was sort of well known back then.
It was someone called. It was a children's choir from Martika's Toy Soldiers.
That's the one, Martica, yeah. But
Yeah, that's
like I say, like being able to add the is it the kick and snare drums in the background to obviously add that hip hop effect, and
I got like a military vibe from it. Did you
Yeah.
Did you get that as well? Like I felt like I was at like a military funeral when I kind of
Yeah.
listened to that song. It's very ceremonial, and I get that's obviously probably the point that he's making with the song. It always reminded me of like the people in the army uniform that stand at the ceremony playing the drums.
Well, to be fair, like you said, like there's plenty of soldiers that, like for example, you had 50 Cent, you had Exhibit, you had Obi Trice, you had all these people which would have lyrically and physically laid the life down, not just in the booth but quite happily on the streets, just because those people were prepared to go that far with these beefs. Like, they had each other's back that much, and the fact that they had to go around not just in public but to shows and stuff like that, wearing bulletproof vests. It was a mental time. So given everything that's gone on, to be able to go, look, I'm done. I'm going to be the big person here. I've had enough. Is quite a testament to itself. So that's why I love that track.
Yeah, did you ever see the Top of the Pops performance? Maybe not at the time, but he performed the song on was it River Thames?
I remember watching, because he did one for Radio 1, didn't he? Or, well, if it was Radio 1 at that point. He did one for BBC, but I can't remember.
I remember the one of him on the Thames. I feel like it wasn't he. Was he? I want to say he was wearing like a big coat of some description. He just looked like it was swallowing him. And I remember my mum always saying as well, you just wouldn't get any other artist that would come over from the States and do it. Yeah, a performance like that. She said it was quite a big thing.
Yeah, because I think Just Lose It had gotten to number one in the UK charts, a few months before, and then Like Toy Soldiers came out, and it basically performed the two of them. I think he was on HMS. I can't remember the name of the boat, but he was on one of the sort of royal boats performing it with Tower Bridge in the background. But it is quite cool. The quality on YouTube is debatable. Obviously, it was 2004, so it's not the best, but if any of you listening that haven't seen the performance, definitely look it up on YouTube, because it is pretty cool. So from that we go on to track number 6, and Blake is reviewing that as well.
Yeah, people in 2017 thought Eminem was political and going on what he was going on about. Fucking hell, they wouldn't have survived with this song. The beat, because this is the one where he goes at, is it Bush?
Yeah, this is what I was going to say to you guys as well. Tie into what Blake's saying as well, with him being political, is that we obviously know that he just endorsed Kamala Harris at the moment and brought out Barack Obama, and he had to take the comments off of his Instagram post because he was getting so much hate for it. He is literally threatening to storm the White House here and overthrow the president at the time. And people these days are like, I can't believe he just walked Kamala Harris out. He could have been responsible for like a miniature revolution. Like, if people had really got that angry and that fired up back then. But obviously they didn't because of all the propaganda shit. But I think people that say the whole, he's too political, need to go and have a genuine listen to this album, because I think that'll change their minds entirely. And it'll show you which side of the fence he's always sat on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's, like I say, I mean, what you were saying, obviously, about everything that government at the time was doing in terms of, wars, and basically saying that their only interest is, get like, is this the track where I'm sure he says, where he's on about that they'll inscript you from 18?
No, that's Square Dance, I think.
Oh, is that Square?
28.
I always get them mixed up, but like, obviously, I know it was never released in terms of on YouTube. Obviously, there is versions out there, but I think the way the music video was done for this was very well done.
Yeah, I was going to ask you as well, do you think there's a reason it was done that way? Because I think I could probably see him getting in a lot more trouble if he had actually acted out a music video where he was encouraging a riot and an assault on the White House. So that's why I always got the impression that he did in a sort of a little animated video.
Well, it also just goes to show like how, if you actually watch the video, how propaganda can influence people to do a certain way, you know, and obviously rally up and stuff like that. And even though what he's saying could be taken very serious, like, you know, like you said, he's ready to storm the White House and do this and the other. I think it's also a representation from his part of how propaganda, i.e., you know, what's shown in the video, how that can influence people to act a certain way.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. So yeah, Mosh was was very political. Of course, you know, he was very political during, you know, the Eminem show. Yeah, you can even go back to Slim Shady LP where he was, you know, talking about Hillary and Bill Clinton. So yeah, he's always been political. It's just it's funny to see nowadays on X, Twitter, that, you know, how can he do this? What is he doing? I mean, I do, my honest opinion, with obviously talking with current affairs with the presidential election, I do find it bizarre that they are mad for it over there in terms of getting all actors out, musicians out to go to these rallies. I mean, I'm not massively political, but if Eminem was from the UK and he was at a Tory party conference, I don't think I would really be that happy either, if you know what I mean.
No, yeah, I get that. I think the only thing I would say is that you guys might understand it in I don't understand the level of patriotism that comes with some of America. It's great. Like, enjoy it, guys, if that's what you want to do. But I think in this country we definitely vote for the people more than the party, and I think in America it's the other way around. So I think what they're trying to do is bring in like the younger generation to an older party. That's kind of what I got from it. But yeah, I do know what you mean. You do see all these celebrities and stuff sort of getting involved, and it's like just stay out of it. Like, it's not worth it.
To be fair, it's like Kid Rock said. Obviously, you know, was it the other day or last week or something? He said, obviously, at the end of the day, you don't have to like or agree with what he says. Just obviously respect the fact that he's not afraid to hide it. You know, obviously, like, because most people or most celebrities, you know, obviously they might go out and they might introduce, like, you know, like how Beyonce's done and Lizzo and this and the other's done very recently. But like, Eminem's never been afraid to speak his mind, especially when it comes to politics. So obviously you might not like it, but at least appreciate the fact that he's not afraid to just keep his mouth shut. It's funny when it comes to American politics. So on TikTok earlier today, I was watching this UK/American couple. So one lad's like from north of England, and obviously his missus is US, and it's the first time he's gone over to America. So she's, you know, showing him round, and he was saying like it's mental because over in America it's very much in your face, you know, like, and it's very heated if you prefer one candidate to the other. Whereas obviously, like, over here, you might not like a certain party, but you don't really give a shit because, you know, everyone thinks they're all knobs anyway, so it doesn't really make heads or tails.
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas in America, you know, like, there's big banners, you know, there's Trump 2024, Kamala, you know, all over the place. It's like, it's just mental, like, how in your face and how heated it can get, whereas it's not that deep, and it really isn't.
Yeah, so I mean, yeah, that is American politics in a nutshell. But yeah, it's not the first time that M has been political, and obviously it won't be the last time. Even more recently, you know, he's done a few tracks as well. Even on Revival, obviously had the sort of anti-Trump song as well. So, but yeah, so that was Mosh from track number 6. So we'll move on. We're just going to go sort of quickly through the next couple of tracks. No disrespect to the album, but, you know, we have our obviously favourites on the album, but we've got a couple tracks that we've not chosen, but we'll go through. Number 7 is Puke. That was produced by Eminem and Louis Resto. So this could be taken two ways. This is either a song dedicated to Kim, because at that time the two of them had married and then got divorced round about the same time. But then when he actually performed the track, probably 6 months later, he was sort of dedicating it to Mariah Carey. So it's really just about, you know, either an ex or whoever, but it's just one of those. I suppose the chorus, would you say, guys, is a bit catchy?
Yeah, it's got like a really, and the fact that how heavy the drums hit as well, and the rest of the beat, it is very catchy. This one's always good fun when you're in a bad mood.
Sick to my stomach.
Yeah, it reminds me of that one. What's on the Marshall Mathers LP too? So Much Better. I kind of get a similar vibe to that as well. I don't know if it's necessarily. I think it probably was directed at Kim, but now, however many years later, he can pull it off as just this is just a genuine sort of I'm feeling pissed off about relationships song. So yeah, I thought it does work very well. It's very catchy as well.
Just a catchy breakup song. So for number 7, and then number 8, my first single. Yeah, I mean we all know, or maybe not everyone that's listening, but the album, a lot of tracks from the album did leak. You know, many months before it came out. They were We Are Americans. I think it was Ricky Ticky Talk and Love You More. So they were originally supposed to be on the edition, but those tracks got leaked. So then there was a story that Eminem flew back over to LA and him and Dre done another 3 tracks. So one of those was my first single. Not the best in sort of my opinion. I don't know if you guys have got any sort of like qualities to the song.
It gets skipped, sadly. Again, it's just not very strong. I gotta get the impression they didn't really know what they were going for when they made the song, and they just kind of went, "Yeah, fuck it, that'll do." Like, no offense. Like you said, the situation they were in with the songs being leaked, that's really crap. Especially with this, how early this was into sort of the internet being a thing that everyone had access to. So yeah, but I just don't listen to it.
Yeah, quite a rush track. So on to number 9. As is most Eminem albums, there's a skip, and that is from Paul. And track number 2 is Rain Man. Now, I don't know if Rain Man was one of the rush tracks. It's hard to sort of guess. I mean, this song is decent enough, I suppose. The song is named after the 1988 movie, of course, Rain Man, that was starring Dustin Hoffman and Tom Cruise. And yeah, it's a playful, light-hearted song. Tells a lot of the same sort of celebrity-orientated jokes that he's done in previous sort of singles. You know, The Real Slim Shady, Just Lose It. Many punchlines as well. So yeah, it's basically just a sort of wee nod, go with the flow sort of track. It's not the worst, but it's definitely not the best. Track at number 11, Big Weenie. This is when it gets even more sort of rushed. This is, I suppose you could say that it's a diss track as such, although it's not one of, you know, his renowned sort of diss tracks. It is aimed at Benzino, of course, and the Source magazine. It was, you know, really just talking about how, you know, he's jealous because Eminem's rich, he's making lots of money. And he's not. You're just jealous. It's not the best. I don't know if you guys have got any opinion on this track either.
No, I think isn't this one that he said that he was on a fair amount of like drugs at the time, and they just sort of go into the studio and kind of joke around, and this ended up just making the cut. I think. Yeah, it does give me a little bit of a cringe effect, I think.
Yeah, so Eminem was doing an interview many years ago with Rolling Stone magazine, and he did sort of admit around the tail end of sort of 2004 the songs started getting really goofy. He said Rain Man, Big Weenie, Ass Like That, that's when the wheels were coming off. Every day I had a pocket full of pills, and I would just go into the studio and just goof out. And yeah, at least he's honest with it, because my first single, Big Weenie, they are very sort of rush tracks, and you can sort of understand if they had a deadline for the album to come out, and you know, it was just a case of shit, we need another 3 tracks, let's just get in the booth and do it. So it is what it is, you know. It's that is the reason why Encore won't be regarded as one of his best albums. You know, people will say half of the album is pretty solid and then the other half isn't. These are the sort of tracks that were mentioned that aren't obviously the greatest. So from that we go on to another skit, which is Calling Paul. You know yourself if you've listened to that what that's about. And track 13 we have Just Lose It. So yeah, this is more of his, you know, the classic comedy pop singles. that he's obviously done throughout the years. He also talks about current events. There's a few cameos in the music video. You have, I think it's Paris Hilton and Dr. Dre as well. So he's obviously dresses up as Michael Jackson, Madonna, Prince. So it's just basically the vibe that it's sort of like a second Without Me at that time, I would say. So what did you guys, looking back on it now, 20 years on, which is incredible, Just Lose It. Obviously, you've got Houdini, you've got The Real Slim Shady, you've got Without Me. If you were to sort of put the sort of fun pop singles in a formula, where would this rank?
See, for me, this is somewhere between, I would say, the goofiness that comes with some of the old Slim Shady stuff, but then sort of, I guess, the wackiness of the 2000s as well. Like, the music video was so out of pocket. It was so outrageous that it felt like it kind of reminded me of, when he dressed up as Bin Laden for, was it Without Me? Yeah. And then he's, at the end of this video, he's dressed as Michael Jackson, sat on a bed with loads of kids jumping on the bed.
Yeah.
His hair's on fire and his nose has fallen off. It's like he actually had the bollocks to get dressed up and do that is pretty crazy. But this is one of the more fun songs, in my honest opinion. I think he just had a lot more fun with this as opposed to sort of some of the others. Because I think with like Houdini, for example, I got the idea that was like a nostalgia trip for those that enjoyed Without Me and The Real Slim Shady. But Just Lose It felt like it was just trying to have fun. It was like, okay, stop being too serious for now because we've said a lot of shit in the first half of this album. Let's just sort of slow down a minute. That's what I got anyway.
Nah, quite right. So yeah, that was the first lead single off the album. Then we had another single just after this track that was Ass Like That. That was again produced by Dr. Dre, and yeah, it's a sort of catchy hook, but I mean, it's not a track that I go back to. I understand that it's it's obviously on Curtain Call, the first edition, and yeah, this was, of course, when he was just on his pills, and as he mentioned in the Rolling Stone article, that was one of the goofy tracks that he did as well. Blake, what's your view on this track 20 years on?
Still as funny as the day it came out. The music video is brilliant, using all the puppets. Was it MTV where they had the... Was it MTV or was it the show we did in New York where they had the puppets on stage with him dancing?
Yeah, I think it was both because he performed it at an award show and he had Lindsay Lohan he was talking to her with the puppet just before.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah, so like in school, we used to try and imitate the how we used to do the dog's voice. But so like this song always has fond memories for me. But all in all, I think it's a very funny song. Like it wasn't ever really meant to be taken serious, like most tracks. Very similar to when obviously you've just gone on about Just Lose It. So it's not meant to be a serious track. It's meant to be quite a comedic, and it does have jabs at people here and there. But all in all, fantastic track.
Number 15, Ross is going to go through that one for us.
Yeah, so this one is Spend Some Time, which is one of my absolute favourites. It's got quite a very strong sort of feature list, and it goes from I guess the idea of the song is that all these are different artists, including 50, so Eminem, 50 Cent, Stat Quo, and Obi Trice are all talking about their experience with, I guess, relationships while they're trying to work at their career as well. And yeah, I really like Eminem's verse in this. Some of the rhyming is really good as well. Obviously, where he does the whole "you started getting moody on me," and he starts that sort of rhyme scheme there for the next 4 bars is really good. Yeah. This is also another Dina Ray track, isn't it? So which is quite good. And then on top of that as well, it's the sample. I can't remember what the name of it was, but it's an artist that he sampled before. He sampled later on in Kamikaze. So it's
okay.
I think it's Spooky Tooth. Yeah, that's it. So the sample is Self-Seeking Man by Spooky Tooth. He then went on to sample Spooky Tooth's song again 14 years later for Stepping Stone on Kamikaze. So it's another one that he's done before, or that he's familiar with. But again, really good sort of feature list, like 4 very current and very big rappers at the time as well. I like 50 Cent's verse on this as well. And I really like Stat Quo as well. Not an artist I knew a lot about growing up, So this was kind of, used to have this album on like a little iPod shuffle, and this is one I kind of knew was playing because you'd get the violin at the beginning, so I knew not to skip it. I knew exactly what I'd be hearing. Whereas like Never Enough, you can never find it because it just sort of, if you skip through it, there'd be like a second and then it starts.
It was a good track. That was one of my favourites on the album as well. And yeah, I think Statco had just signed to Shady Records, so that was just sort of, you know, Eminem fans, the first sort of taste. I like Statco. Like, you know, he obviously done quite a few songs with him on the re-up, so it was, I think, around about this time as well. This is when the Syllables track with Jay-Z and Dr. Dre was sort of recorded as well. That obviously leaked. Was it a couple years later? I think it did.
He's very brutal in his, like, Eminem's very brutal in his verse, don't you think? Like, the line that always sticks in my head, and it, like, whenever someone mentions his song, it's the first line that comes into my head. It's when he goes, "And when we fuck, I refuse to even take my jewelry off."
Yeah, that's vile, isn't it?
It's like, it's the way he says it. Like, it's so, like, it's almost like he's spitting at you, innit?
Yeah, and I think what I got from it was that he doesn't trust her to take his jewelry off around her. That's what I got from it as well. Is that, like, I think The Weeknd even had it on one of his songs where he says that he's checking his jewelry box every time that she comes round. And there's another one that 50 says that gets me as well, where he says, "Why talk when sucking my dick is the real career move?" It's like, fucking hell. That is a bit. Don't know how that'd age.
Do you know what though? Like, in fairness, it would be because, you know, like, he's just opened up his studio for making movies and TV shows. So,
he was the biggest artist on the planet as well, wasn't he? So
yeah.
Right, okay, so after that we moved on to track number 16, and yeah, you know, a fan favourite. It's pretty much well known these days, Mockingbird, and yeah, once again produced by Eminem and Risto. Of course, this track is dedicated to Haley Jade and also Elena and Stevie, who he mentions throughout the track. Yeah, quite an emotional song. There was obviously a lot of stuff going on in his life at that moment in time as well. And, you know, it's just, you know, everyone knows what it's about. And, you know, of course, he done a sort of sequel to it just recently in Temporary for the Death of Slim Shady as well. But yeah, I mean, there's not a lot to say about the track. It was big at the time when it came out. I remember it very well. And then I think it was just maybe 2 years ago, it ended up going viral on TikTok. And then lo behold, within a year, it had now reached, I think it's just over 1 billion Spotify streams. It's still getting, you know, a good couple of million streams each week as well, and it's definitely up there in terms of the streaming as, you know, one of his biggest songs from this album. Maybe not necessarily at the time, but, you know, 20 years on, it's still fresh. People still play it. You know, I think it, even from memory, re-entered the charts both sides of the Atlantic as well last year, so that just tells you, you know, how big the song has become as well. At this current stage, it is 5 times platinum in the USA, getting to number 11 on Billboard, which is a little bit low, I suppose, but, you know, the longevity of the track has definitely done really well. Over here in the UK, it is currently 3 times platinum, and it peaked at number 4 in the charts. And in terms of awards, it was Grammy nominated. Unfortunately, it lost in the Best Rap Performance category, but it did win the Teen Choice Awards. So it won Best Rap Performance for that. So guys, you know, just briefly, there's not a lot to say about this track. It's obviously huge. You know, it's quite emotional. What is your views on it?
I don't know. It's tough. Sorry. I mean, I want to obviously go back and have like an unbiased opinion when I hear it, but I kind of struggle to now. And I'm also one of those people as well that probably lean towards the fact that he's got quite a few sad songs now. So I'm never really in necessarily the mood at the age of sort of 26 when I'm, you know, working full time to sit down and get in my feelings with some of the music that he releases. So it's not one I would necessarily go back to, but obviously I do have appreciation for it. And like you said, it seems to pull numbers and attract some attention to the album, which is obviously considered one of his least popular. So yeah, it's a good thing that it's on there.
Right, so we'll move on to track number 17. The track is called Crazy in Love. That is also produced by Eminem and Louis Risto. This is, a bit of a sort of, he's went down a different sort of lane in this track. He predominantly sings in this song. I don't know if you have noticed this, guys, but this is probably up there with Haley's song as well from the Eminem show. So it's basically, it could be taken two ways. It could be about Kim. It could be about, the rap game, samples. There's a group called Heart from the 80s, which was called Crazy on You. So the sample of the chorus is from that track. Guys, any bias to this track? Are you a fan or not?
Love it. Absolutely love it. And I can't tell you why I love it. I just know that I do love it. And I don't know why, but whenever I hear this chorus, it reminds me of like an anime. Like
Interesting. Yeah.
no, honestly, it's like, so when the chorus kicks in, for some reason in my head, I just picture like an anime version of Eminem, just like, proper like 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 how they run, the hands behind back that you see when you're like 5 years old. That like when it first kicks in, that's what I imagine of. But I think it's more so like how, like this very start of the song, like how he flows on the beat, like all of it to me is just unreal. So I love the song, and I can't, other than that, I can't tell you why I love the song. To me, it is the bollocks.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. It's definitely up there in terms of my favourite track from this album. Okay, right, track number 18, and Blake is going to review that one for us.
Yeah, so obviously, one shot, two shot with near on all the members of D12. Obviously, the only one who doesn't feature is Proof. And I didn't realise at the time until, obviously, doing a bit of research on the track. The reason Proof wasn't on this song was because he wanted to basically take a big step back from making hip-hop music. I'm not sure the exact reason. It just says, he was wanting to come away for a little bit, so I presume that must have been like he just wanted a little bit of a breather or something, but that's the reason why Proof isn't on the track. But I think I don't think it's set on a real event that happened, not to my knowledge anyway, but obviously, like, the gist of the song is they're performing somewhere, the venue's overcrowded, but some gang or group that they've pissed off has basically started firing shots at him. And my favourite line off the whole song is, where he goes, look at Bizarre running, I've never seen him move so fast. I think he's left his wife.
That's right.
It's good.
It's like
he's on the ground being trampled.
Yeah, that's it. So, and then it's like, and then the who is it? I can't remember which member said it, but it's the bit where this chick is clinging onto me, sobbing and sighing, saying she didn't mean to diss me earlier.
Crying.
Yeah, that's it. It's like, it's funny because it's just that whole line's just pure pettiness, and it's like, so you dissed me early, but but now you're crying because you want my help, and then he's there like, so I hugged her and used the body as a human shield. It's like, mate, that is petty and that is
Wild,
vile. I love
it's
it.
fucking crazy.
Like, it's just comedic the whole way through, isn't it?
I think when you watch those, like, there's like normally a TV series will do like an episode that centers around like one sort of catastrophe and how it affects all these different characters. That's kind of like the vibe I get from this song. But then what I kind of find sort of funny at the end is that the one that's causing the most fucking ruckus is the one that's been called up to help when it's all kicked off. So obviously he walks in at the end, he says, one's for the bartender, two's to stop the show. And then and as it's all kicking off and there's people running and screaming, he just shouts, I just want to know who's driving the black Mitsubishi. like, as if it's like, oh yeah, you parked in the wrong spot or you blocked my car. There's just some gun-wielding maniac who's like, who's driving that car? Like,
it's quite a catchy chorus as well. I mean, this is the vibe from this album as a whole, that there is quite a lot of good choruses on it.
Yeah, which is always, I think I've always found people, I think I've said this before, my friends who aren't necessarily big Eminem fans, they can appreciate the fact that he's a really good rapper, but one of them has always said that their biggest pet peeve is like the hooks that he uses, but I would agree. Encore probably has some of his strongest choruses, like from A to B, all the way from the start of the album to the finish. It does work quite well.
Agrees with
Do
that.
you know what my other favorite bit about this song, right, is like when they're acting out that phone call, he's like, I'm on 7 Mile. What the fuck was that, mate? Right, I'm sure one of them's Eminem, but it sounds like there's two people doing it. Whoever's doing the machine gun noises,
Yeah,
like, should have got an award just for that alone. Right, it's literally I'm on 7 Mile. It's like, what?
yeah. And then you hear obviously the bit that makes me laugh is when he goes, "It's that it was they hit me from the back." He's like, "With their car, with their gat," and it's like, yeah, it rhymes really well.
And my tire flat.
Yeah, it's good.
Right, so yeah, that was a great song from the album. Track 19 is, of course, another skit that is called Final Thought. And track number 20, which is the last album on the standard edition, Ross is going to go through that one.
Yeah, so this song is Encore, or I think it's Encore / Curtain Down. This is actually like an encore of the album as well, because obviously the final thought is Eminem backstage, and you can hear people chanting his name. So this is him like coming back to do, like a final sort of track for the audience or for us as the listener. Obviously features 50 Cent and Dr. Dre as well. One of my favorites off the album as well. It's that, again, I think I've said it before, it's that three-headed Hydra. I don't think they're ever going to make a bad song, those three together. But yeah, obviously produced by Dr. Dre and Mark Batson, and was released as the third single from the album as well. I do find, though, that I have to, when I'm listening to this song, I don't know if you guys have noticed this as well, but if you listen to the clean version on Spotify, you don't get the sequence at the end of him shooting the show up.
Yeah, I noticed that when I was listening to it, yep.
So I have to turn it, because like, if you're driving in traffic and this song comes up, and you can't necessarily touch your phone to skip it, like me in my car.
And you've got the windows down.
Yeah, I got the windows down as people walking past. Like, is that bloke listening to like footage of a shooting? Because it doesn't sound great. But yeah, again, and the hype shout out at the end where he says, 50 Cent, G Unit, Obi Trice, D Twizzy, Stat Quo, Dr. Dre, we ain't leaving. Yeah, it's just like they were running the show at the time. And even like this is considered one of his sort of weaker albums. It did sell quite a lot as well. So yeah, any sort of standouts for you guys on this song? Would you say it's like I'd say personally it's one of his strongest endings to an album?
Yeah, and the production on it from Dre and Mark Batson is brilliant. It does sort of remind me of the Chronic 2001 album, just with the the sort of melodies on it. I'm still waiting on Detox though.
Yeah, because he said we're going to make him do it. He said he'd do it. We've got it on wax there. So I will hold him to it if I ever meet him.
To be fair, my big thing with this song is its joint first hook. Because don't get me wrong, like the whole song is unreal, and like just the way it was done, and for what you could say is like a closing out track is unreal. But for me, it's this hook and Never Enough. Like for me, like those two are the best hooks off the whole album, and I'd say two of the best hooks out of Eminem's whole discography. But it is an unreal track, and it's a shame it wasn't longer. Even though I think is it nearly 5 minutes long or something daft like that. But it's one of those songs where like because you can vibe out to it that much, you just want it to continue. Like it would have been good if it had another like maybe feature on it, but I think it was perfect the way it was.
I was thinking or it could have done one of those things where, like, if they didn't have Dre and 50 Cent on it, like, all the members of D12 plus 50 would have been really cool as well. Because the beat is quite simple in the sense that they can just loop it and you don't get bored of it, which I quite like. And you're not really necessarily listening to it for the beat. I think all their verses stand out really well. Why, when he says, if you you'll learn if you pay attention why 10 multi-platinum albums later, 3 diamond worldwide, we're on the charts with a bullet and still climbing. It's hard. There's a hard lyric.
And then that also turned out to be true because, nowadays the Marshall Mathers LP, the Eminem Show, and Curtain Call are all diamond. So, he sort of spoke it into existence, I suppose, didn't he?
See, when I first heard this song when I was younger, back in my prime on my iPod Shuffle, I thought he was saying we're on the charts but a bullet can still find you, as if to say, right, like, don't. Yeah, and I always thought that sounded really cool, and it wasn't until like earlier this year that I thought I'd have a look on the actual Genius thing, because I think I wanted to check if there was a lyric missing on this song that I thought, and it came up, and I was like, that can't be right. I've been singing it completely wrong, but it also sounds hard as well. We're on the charts, but a bullet can still find you. Still sounds quite good. So yeah, happy little correction there.
I went down during COVID. I went down a lot of. I had this thing that I wanted to own every Eminem CD single. I had quite a lot, to be fair. From an early age, I was buying the CD singles when they were obviously coming out. But as there was nothing to do during those times, I decided to go on eBay and try and buy just about every single that I could. Now, this track was never officially released on CD, however it was released on vinyl, so I actually managed to get this through eBay on vinyl. I'll maybe put some pictures on the group chat after this and stick it on Twitter, but it's actually pretty cool. But just, I think the CD era in terms of singles was just sort of phasing out at that moment, so it was quite bizarre how they ended up doing a vinyl instead of a CD. But yeah, I'll show you some pictures about that. It's pretty cool.
So even back then, he was on his fucking bullshit with the fucking merch drops.
Oh yes, of course he was. Right, so yeah, that is the sort of standard edition of the album. Many people do have their own opinions. A lot of will say that it's one of his worst albums. Some will say it's up there with some of his classics, and then there will be the others that will say it's sort of average. For me, I think it was because, I'll tell you a quick story, but back in high school, every Friday afternoon, there was a squad of us that went to a college for the afternoon, so we'd have to basically get picked up on a school bus, and then we were maybe an hour the other side of Glasgow. And this album had just came out at the time, so one of the guys that was, in our class, he brought the CD. So I just remember there was like 20 of us vibing to this album for 1 hour to this place and then 1 hour back to it every Friday for about 6 weeks. So sort of nostalgia sort of creeps in when I hear a lot of these tracks nowadays. So my personal opinion, of course, it's not as highly regarded as the Slim Shady LP, Marshall Mathers, Eminem Show, etc. But I do think this is quite a strong album. If you take out 4 or 5 of the tracks and sort of compress it a little, then my opinion, it's definitely up there. What about yourselves? What's your opinions on this?
See, I quite like it, but that's because with this album, I can quite easily switch my brain off and listen to it for what it is. If I was going to put my critical head on, then the 3 tracks from the obviously deluxe version, which is I Love You More, Rick Tiki Talk, and
We as Americans.
We as Americans. So
really strong.
I maybe would have replaced them with a couple of tracks on the standard version. As like I say, for me, I do really like the album. Don't get me wrong, like there's a couple of songs I'll skip. I like I say, I can switch my brain off. So I think for me, it's very much an easy listening album instead of I'm listening to it to get the, to get the hit of, like a hard gritty song, or to, if I want to listen to get a certain emotion or stuff like that. Whereas this, I think because of like the goofy tracks, like the Just Lose It, the Arse Like That, and then obviously you've got the serious tracks like like Mockingbird and Yellow Brick Road, if you want to class that as a serious track, cause obviously what he's talking about. The beat selection for the songs that like it's not. It's gonna sound bad when I say it, but like there isn't consistency. Like it's a very broad thing for like. There's a song on here which everyone's gonna enjoy. Like you don't listen through and you're like, oh, that song sounds like this song, or does that make sense? So again, it's a very much an easy listening album for me. If I was going to be critical, then I'd be like, yeah, this needs to change. But again, I can just switch my brain off, so it's not too bad for me.
And yeah, I think for me, my issue that I have with this album is I think the majority of the stuff that I enjoy is 50% nostalgia and 50%, yeah, I think the music's really solid. The only thing I struggle to overlook is if I was listening to the album, as in I was going to sit down and go, I'm going to listen to Encore today, there's probably only about 5 or 6 songs that I would take away from this and go, yeah, they really stand out. And the other issue I have as well is, if you look at where Never Enough is, obviously it's like third. Yellow Brick Road is like, it's not my favourite song. Obviously I really like Toy Soldiers and then Mosh. But then the next song that I would go to after that with replay value is 8 tracks later. And that's a big gap to of an album to not enjoy. You know, when the album's made up of 20 songs, including the 2 skits, and there's 8 that you openly won't listen to, then it can get a bit hard to listen to. But I think for me, the one thing I'll take away from this album is the songs that I do take out and put into playlists, like Never Enough or like Toy Soldiers, Mosh, and then spend some time 1 shot, 2 shot on Encore. The ones I do take out and listen to, I really, really enjoy, and I think they hold up really well outside the album as well, as like just chucking into a playlist. So yeah, I think I said it before, where the highs on this album are really good, but the lows are quite low as well. That's sort of the way I view the album. But if I was going to say, is this his like overall worst body of work? I would say no. I don't think that is true. Obviously, we don't have to go into that now, but yeah, everything has a time and a place to enjoy it. And for me, when I did listen to this album at the time, I was really enjoying it. But now that I've got so much more music to listen to from him, it probably doesn't get the attention it could. If that makes sense.
Do you know what I think people's biggest issue with this album is? Like, if you look at it over time, this is meant to be a direct continuation from the Eminem show.
Yeah,
like that's obviously
it doesn't sound like it.
If you're called Encore, and in terms of like, if you're gonna go track for track, caliber for caliber, it isn't anywhere near, and that's not a bad thing. Obviously, you don't want. As much as you want an album to be like, oh, this was just as good as the last one, or this was better than the last one, it's like it's not a bad thing. It's just, I think because obviously that was the concept and that was the route they wanted to go down, making it, you know, Encore to the Eminem show. Hence the album covers are near on identical, you know, this, that, and the other. So yeah, I think that sort of kills the vibe of it for people, and obviously the leaks and changing the tracks to what you'd say weaker tracks is obviously not helped it over time. But yeah,
I think the other thing as well is just like, last thing I'll say is, no matter what sort of body of work he put out after the 3 albums he had back to back before these, like it probably wouldn't have been received as well regardless. Like if he had done, because you got to think he did the Slim Shady LP, the Marshall Mathers LP, the Eminem show, and then Encore, and it's like, do you really expect him to do 4 perfect albums in a row? Because I personally do think those first 3 are top tier, and they are like some of the best content he's ever put out there. So he had a lot going on at the time as well, personally and sort of professionally. I don't think it's unnatural to assume that, you know, his body of work or his sort of work ethic might have dropped or gotten a little bit lazier. So I don't think it's a problem at all. It still holds up well when you want to listen to it. So
I would say so. And I think just the 3 tracks that were supposed to be on it, if they were put on it, you know, people might have looked at it in a sort of different light as well. But yeah, in terms of the commercial performance of this album, because it leaked online a few days before its official release, they basically released it in the middle of the week, so they only had 3 days of sales to actually reach number 1, and of course it did get to number 1. It sold 710,000 copies in 3 days, which is absolutely insane. And then after a full 7 days after that, it went on to sell a further 871,000. So that is just over 1.5 million in about 10 days, which is, I mean, that speaks volumes to how popular it was at the time as well. As of 2023, which was the last time a lot of his stuff was updated, the album has sold over 5.5 million in the USA, so that is a strong sales total for that. So as I says, that was 20 years of the album Encore, and I don't know if they're going to do anything, guys, for this. They do like to do the old extended versions and merch drop. Do you see anything happening in the next couple of days?
I hope not. Personally, enjoy the fact that Death of Slim Shady is still being well received. There's no reason to put out even a fucking merch run for this album, to be fair. Just enjoy it. Don't get me wrong, I'm sure there is probably some music in the vault that we haven't heard that could be good, but I've always been one of those firm believers that if he didn't think it was worth putting out at the time, then there's a reason we aren't listening to it. So I think he should just leave the extended editions for now, but Yeah,
of course, Brand New Dance was supposed to be on this album.
Yeah.
That was supposed to be track number, I think it was originally put down for track number 7 in place of Puke. And of course, the title was Christopher Reeves. So, yeah, I mean, it's funny how obviously he's put it on the most recent album anyway. Who knows, maybe he'll do an extended edition with that on it. Who knows? Right, guys, thank you very much for your review of the album, and cheers to everyone who is listening as usual. The place to see us is on all good streaming platforms. Just remember that you're hitting the subscribe button and you'll be notified the next time we air an episode. Thank you to Blake and Ross for joining me, and we'll see you again in the next couple of weeks.